Do you fancy some free beers this Christmas? It is Beer 52's award season and they are showcasing some of the best beers from across the world. And here in this package, you can get 8 exclusive beers that you will not find anywhere else free this Christmas. All you have to do is go to beer52.com/paddock and cover just £5.95 postage to get your free case of 8 beers now. I love Beer 52 and they offer the ultimate immersive beer drinking experience, and this month is an absolute cracker as they celebrate some of the greatest talents in the global craft beer movement. You've got craft beer giants Omnipollo with their Pale Ale Outer Galactic, which offers a smooth and vibrant hoppy profile, which is going to make sure that you keep coming back for more. Look at the colour on that. Lovely and light. Perfect. Let's have a little go. Oh, spectacular. Spain's Basqueland have developed a fantastic reputation for brewing exceptional dark beers as well, and their Baltic Porter, The Adventures of Mr. Malta, you're not going to forget that name anytime soon, has got a fantastic blend of aromas. You've got roasted malt sweetness, you've got dark chocolate, you've got coffee, and you've got some dark fruit undertones as well. It's got a subtle balance of alcohol warmth and a bitterness that adds complexity and balance to every sip. And if you don't like dark beers, that's absolutely fine. Choose the light only box and you will get a couple of free tasty snacks as well, of course. You can also learn about all of the fantastic breweries, all of the fantastic beers included in this case in the Ferment magazine, which is right in the box. And even if after all of that, the beers, the snacks, the magazine, everything, you're still not satisfied, you can simply cancel or pause at any time. So make sure you go to beer52.com/paddock. The link is in the description. Go and check them out now. That is beer52.com/paddock. On with the show.
Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Brew. That isn't Stephen Alston, as you may have noticed, though. It's another bearded maestro in Joe Smith, who joins me as he pours himself a well-earned beverage.
It's what Steve would have wanted.
It's what Steve would have wanted. It's what Steve does a lot of the time as well. We're going to be talking about FFP, Everton charges. So should other clubs, as everyone keeps naming them on Twitter or not naming them, be looking over their shoulder? And also we'll be talking about a load of nonsense, because we're talking. Do you ever see that on Brass Eye? Nonsense. Have you ever seen it? It's does your child smell of hammers? Like, what are you on about, bro?
Well, for people who don't know what Brass Eye is,
Brass Eye is a satirical look, and they did the
not.
thing like Pedo Geddon or whatever it was.
Pedo Geddon.
Yeah, Pedo Geddon, where they sort of mocked the outrage a little bit about sort of when there was this spate in the 90s, everyone was like, oh, paedophiles everywhere, you've got to watch your kids and be careful and all that shit, which I get, obviously, but it went like massively like OTT at times. So Chris Morris and Brass Eye did this thing where he was sort of doing this video to warn parents of the dangers of paedophiles. Yeah. And it was ludicrous. And they were saying things like, if your kid is engaging online with a paedophile, he can end up turning 2D. Yeah. Like, what? But they were getting presenters to say these things. So you had Phil Collins wearing a hat that said, we're talking nonsense, right?
Phil Collins from Genesis.
And
you had from Phil Collins.
Yeah, you had Richard Blackwood, where they said, if your kid chats to a pedo online, the keyboard, like the pedo can send like a scent through the keyboard.
A smell.
To make your child more suggestible. And you had Richard Blackwood sniffing a keyboard going, I'm feeling more suggestible. Whatever that means. And then the warning signs were, does your child smell like hammers? If your child smells like hammers, then it's too late. you need it was insane. Like, Dr. Fox was on there, wasn't it, as well?
He was always on there.
I remember he said, like, a paedophile has more genetically in common with a crab than another human. There's no scientific evidence to support that, but that is a fact. What? Yeah. What? But they were all saying it sincerely. Yeah, none of them stopped and went, hang on a minute, this is literal nonsense. Yeah. What you on about? Because they were so like, yeah, we've got to do the course. So, yeah, that was what that was about. And my internet on my laptop has just stopped, which is fantastic. But don't worry, we can roll with the punches in this gaff. Get involved in the comments in the chat as well, by the way. And if you have sent a super chat, as someone just did, I will get to it in a minute. I'm just going to have to use my hotspot.
There was one on that as well where it was a paedophile who disguises himself as a school in order to attract children in Sheffield. And you see him walking down the road with a big, like, inflatable school around him.
There was the one with the T-shirt with a little body on. And
Yeah.
it's like, this is what they wear. So they look like...
An adult's head with a little body on
Yeah, little
t-shirt.
body.
I mean, it may seem slightly crass and insensitive, but we'll go and watch it because obviously...
Yeah, if you watch it, because they
It's
did another one about
fantastic.
drugs, about cake.
Yeah.
And this was about the worry of drugs. And it was like cake. And they were giving this, like, cake was this drug.
Gary Lineker was on that one.
Yeah.
Loads of people, loads of celebrities who didn't know it was satire.
You need to know. You need to go watch it because it's satirical.
And Paul Daniels on that one.
Yeah, they just got, like, Rolf Harris, I think, was on it. Well, that's not worked out too well.
They didn't get him on the paedophile.
Yeah, no, they got him on the drug one, the cake. And I remember they said, like, the cake has lots of names. And they listed all these names, and one of them was Joss Ackland's Spunky Backpack.
Loads of the episodes are on YouTube as well.
Yeah, go and check it out after you've watched the Brew, of course.
Now, don't be stupid.
Jed's dead, baby. It says City need the same deduction as Everton, multiplied by the number of charges, so 1,150 points, which puts them in the Cheshire League, maybe. I think Stephen Howson, who can't be here today, but is with us in spirit, tweeted something about that. He said that, yeah, they could end up in the Cheshire League. Anyone who doesn't know, right, Everton have had this 10-point deduction for breaching FFP rules.
Financial fair play.
Financial fair play. Thank you, my esteemed colleague. So they're now...
Not esteemed yet.
Yeah, you're going to be, though. Good lad. So they're now at the bottom of the table. I think are they joint bottom now?
Joint bottom with Burnley.
So in the 19th.
On goal diffs.
Right, so that's took them down to the bottom of the table. There's a good chance Everton can still stay up.
Yeah.
Because they're in a good bit of form. They've been playing quite well. I think they've won some like 3 of the last 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
Sunday seems to have sort of got
for them,
going.
Luton, who are currently 17th, are only on 6 points after 12 games.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
You've
got the 3 promoted teams are in trouble. Like Sheffield United, Burnley and Luton.
Usually one of them does all right. They're
I
horrendous so
yeah,
far, aren't they?
I said, you and Steve did disagree with me and you were right. Because I thought Burnley, because of the season they had last season, because of the feel-good factor with company and everything else, and I thought they might have made some deals and stuff, like, would do okay. I thought they'd have one season where they were like mid-table and then it might tail off, but they've not. You called it. I remember Steve saying no because the way they play, they're going to have to adapt in the Premier League and they might not have it in them, and they haven't. Luton, everyone expected him to struggle, and they have done. And I quite like what Luton are doing, man. They're getting back players like Tahith Chong, like Ross Barkley, like Ted Mengi, who at one point were wonder kids. Like all those players, like, you know, sort of fail's a bit of a strong word, but wonder kids who perhaps didn't quite have it live up to their expectation, and then giving them a chance in the Premier League at a different club. I'd love to see that work out, I really would, but it doesn't like it will. And then obviously Sheffield United have just struggled. They just have, which again, they haven't got loads of money. You kind of expect it. So Everton could probably stay up, but it's still a bit of a harsh punishment. Some would argue it's a harsh punishment. They feel a bit aggrieved as well because they've kind of cooperated. And also, what they're saying is that I think, because of the war in Ukraine, they ended up losing 200 million that they were going to get or something. I'll give you the Everton statement, by the way, because Everton have put out a statement 3 hours ago. So, he says, Everton Football Club is both shocked and disappointed by the ruling of the Premier League's Commission. The club believes that the Commission has imposed a wholly disproportionate and unjust sporting sanction. The club has already communicated its intention to appeal the decision to the Premier League. The appeal process will now commence, and the club's case will be heard by an appeal board appointed pursuant to the Premier League rules in due course. Everton maintains that it has been open and transparent in the information it has provided to the Premier League and that it has always respected the integrity of the process. The club does not recognise the finding that it failed to act with the utmost good faith, and it does not understand this to have been an allegation made by the Premier League during the course of proceedings. Both the harshness and severity of the sanction imposed by the Commission are neither a fair nor a reasonable reflection of the evidence submitted. This is what I love, and this is what a lot of United fans will enjoy, and we know what's going on here. The club will also monitor with great interest the decisions made in any other cases concerning the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Everton cannot comment on this matter any further until the appeal process has concluded.
I think it's worth mentioning, obviously,
interesting.
some of the charges or that City are facing. So there's 115 of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are not handing over documents, bits and bobs like that. So that technically, in and of itself, probably wouldn't carry the same weight as the breaking the rule. But there's such things like paying their like not declaring a lot of the payments and not declaring their finances properly. You get the technical details. But for instance, paying Mancini, I think it was something like 1.5 million in wages, and then 1.5 million for a single day seminar, sort of externally, to basically double his wages without having to put it through the books. A company owned by Man City. Just loads of not declaring their wages properly, getting paid money by sponsorships that were clearly their own club's money, like just misrepresenting the value of their own shirt sponsorship and then sponsoring it themselves. Just loads of things, but clearly breaking FFP. Obviously, if the charge is there, so if they're proven to be right, then they clearly are. But not all 115 are FFP related quite exactly. But there's enough of them that are. That not only have they, I think the difference is they didn't report debts. So far the problems have been Man United got charged, what was it, 6 million quid or something we got fined, and that was for spending too much money. Everton's has been for spending too much money. City's isn't for spending too much money, or as far as I'm aware, that's not the bulk of the charges. It's not because they've actually spent more than they've earned, which is what Everton have done. They've just lied and manufactured the money that they've earned.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you think that? Let's put our sort of objective hats on here. Do you think that is worse or less severe than spending the money that you don't have, or pretending you got the money from legal sources? What do you think is worse, or do you think they just essentially amount to the same thing? Like, genuinely, what do we think the expectation of City's charges are going to be?
I think, like you say, a lot of them have got enough, are not going to be FFP related, and they're not going to be sort of that severe. But if they have breached the rules several times, which it seems like they have,
loads,
then they could be in a bit of trouble. Because let's not forget, when they went to, was it the Court of Arbitration of Sport regarding the UEFA ban?
Yeah.
Because the first UEFA wanted to ban them for 2 years for FFP and financial irregularities or breaching financial payments, whatever. And they went to that Court of Arbitration, and there was a 3-man panel, and 2 of them voted in City's favour, 1 of them voted against. And the one was like, I think, a City representative or pro-City, and the other one who wasn't, or one of the ones that was neutral, had ties or something, was like, I remember reading an article about it where it was like, it was not surprising that he sided with City. But so they got away with it, if you can call it that. And also, some of the charges they were facing, there was a statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Like, so UEFA couldn't go that far back. They could only go back like 6 years or something. So like they literally couldn't do anything about some of the charges, where the Premier League can go back all the way, as far as the Premier League began, or, as far as sort of these charges go to. So it'll be interesting. I've always felt with City and these charges, I'll be honest with you, and I've said it a few times, that nothing really is going to happen. I've always thought it's going to be a fine or an almost sort of irrelevant points deduction. Yeah. Like, it's just a performative like points deduction.
6 points
token.
Off. 6 points off, but they won the league by 19
Yeah,
points.
like, we'll say, you deducted 6 points and City still win the league, or something like that. Or, it wouldn't be anything that affects them.
I think
but now I'm wondering, because you do look in, you go, Everton are a big club. They might not have had much success in the Premier League, but they're one of the biggest clubs in England. You look at the size of the fan base, the history and everything else. Everton is a huge club. They've been dealt with quite severely.
Very severely.
Yeah. 10 points in the middle of the season, where you are one of the relegation candidates. You only just stayed up last season. And I think the season before that. And you are, after this points deduction, in the relegation zone. There's no, like, Everton are far from safe. This isn't some like Arsenal or Newcastle getting it, where you go, well, they're not going to get relegated. There's a good chance Everton could go down. And they could go down by a point. And then look at it and go, had they just give us 9 points or nothing, we would have stayed up. So it's a big decision, this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm beginning to think that City might get a more severe punishment than I originally thought. I don't think they're going to get trophies took off them, titles took off them.
No,
But
I think they might.
Do you know what the funny thing is as well, right? I googled like City's charges, and the first thing that came up was Manchester United fan breaks down 115 of City's financial charges. If you go onto my single, there you go. And it's one of those articles, article with Steve, where he read them all out in his suit, bless him, and his sunglasses. And then it's one of them articles where they go, City fans react to it, and he's got all these tweets from City fans like kicking off about it, which, funnily enough, you may not be surprised to hear, Steve kind of wanted. Like that was sort of the point of it. So he kind of fell into his trap there. Go on, bro. You're feeling a bit more confident.
I actually think they might get some stuff taken off him. I think when you look at the severity and the magnitude of the charges, 115. I know, like I don't know how the breakdown of Everton's thing is, but it's sort of listed as one because they basically reported a number that was too big or too small, however you want to look at it. So it was almost more simple. It was more sort of textbook FFP breach. You had to report this number, and the number you reported was lower than that. Therefore, it's a ban. It's a points deduction. So I don't quite know whether, like we said before, the 115 will mean it's 115 times more severe, but they have done the same thing. It's amounted to the same thing. If instead of Everton admitting we don't have the money to do this, we're going to basically spend money on other things and give that money to the club through sort of nefarious means, that's the exact same thing. Yeah. Except Everton have been slightly more honest. Here's what we paid, here's what we should have earned, and it's too much. City have done the exact same thing, except they've lied about it as well. Yeah. So if anything, not only have they breached FFP rules, they've not earned as much as they should have. They've also pretended that they have. So they've committed the crime and tried to cover it up. Yeah. And then apparently been very difficult to get documents from. Some of the charges, I think, for the last one that they then got overturned were to do with unwillingness to hand over documents, and it was noted how difficult they were to deal with and engage with throughout the whole process. And back to the thing that you said about the Court of Arbitration for Sport, when you look at the rules that are being broken and all the people that sort of implement the rules and who the Premier League are and all that, and then it comes down to 3 people on one panel. Yeah. And you think, like, that is the place to target. That's the weak point, isn't it? Yeah. That's the joint to go for. Because you're not going to be able to change the rules. But I think any time that this sort of thing happens with any sort of crime or law breaking or whatever, you look at what's the fewest number of people I need to influence to get this overturned. Yeah. And that panel is the way to do it. And I'm not saying that City did it. Obviously, legally, that wouldn't be a good idea. But theoretically, if you were to get that overturned, going to the panel of 3 people would be the best way to do it. The same way in terms of crimes in this country, the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, decide whether a case even goes to court. Yeah. So if you're trying to target someone, maybe that's where you look to try and get, like, it's classic. It literally is a classic technique. Like boxing judges, it's the same thing. There's 3 of them. Yeah. It's easy to influence 3 people. It's harder to make someone throw a fight and get their team and their trainers and their fans and their family to agree to it. So I just think that we've seen from City already, they're willing to be very difficult to deal with. I'm not going to comment on any potential chance of them sort of talking to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, because that would obviously be libelous. But we've seen that they are doing everything they can to slow this process down. Just look at the fact. When was it? 2 weeks ago we heard about this. The first I heard about the United one when we got done was the day we got our punishment. Yeah, me too. The City one, it's been 6 months. A year? How long has it been? Ages. It was last season we heard about this. Yeah. And we haven't got a court date. We haven't got a day where it's expected to appear in front of this body, that body, the other body. They do everything they can to slow it down, get it blocked, get that taken out. We're going to look over these documents. They're being as obstructive as they possibly can. And even if it wasn't City, even if it was, let's say, who's a team I couldn't care less about, like Wolves, Villa, whatever. For now, we're both I would still think the magnitude of the charges, the fact that you're making it so difficult for them to get to the data that they need and the information and making it last as long as possible, you would expect and hope that they would get the book thrown at them. Because we all know that City have had a unnatural rise to success. No one's ever done it the way they've done it, spending their own money. That's never happened in the history of football, really. So for them to do it this way, in the era of money, in the Premier League era, obviously they've had to be very creative with their accounting at best. And I think we can all see, like, they've clearly breached a load of rules. And the Premier League think they have, because that's where the charges have come from. It's not like United fans have made this up. It's the Premier League that's come up with these charges. So to me, there's no way they don't get a massive, massive sanction for this. I think it could be as far as stripping titles and stuff.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be it gets handed down to second. I think, as much as I'd love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Jose Mourinho to have won a Premier League title with United, I'd love it more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do that, because when you're taking away the titles, you're also, what is that? Did they drop points, or are they losing matches? I think the fine will be you take the titles away and no one won it that year. I think that's the best case scenario. But it could just be as simple as City get 20 points taken off them, or 30 points taken off them next season, at the start of next season. Who knows?
Yeah, I hear you. I do. And I think that it's not looking great for him, to be honest with you. And now, the more sort of punishments you start dishing out to other clubs, and the more fans from other clubs, and the more, the media and everything puts pressure on the Premier League, then the more likely that it is that they're going to have to be severe with City, or at least proportionate. Yeah. Because if you, like you say, if you're giving Everton 10 points and they've broke, let's say, 4 or 5 rules or whatever, and City have broke triple that, let's say, then you can't just give them the same. It's not right. And also, people aren't stupid. Like, the punishment you've given to Everton today hurts them, because it puts their Premier League safety in jeopardy. They get relegated. Getting relegated from the Premier League, I don't think it happened to a club like Everton in terms of what I mean long term, but for some clubs, that can be almost the end of you. Yeah. You can end up on a downward spiral where you go down, drop down in the divisions, you never financially recover, and before you know it, you're done. Yeah. You're basically done. Now, Everton are probably a little bit big for that, but we've seen big clubs go into administration and been on the precipice of just ceasing to exist. Yeah. You know what I mean? We saw it. Look at Portsmouth, are a big club. They used to be Premier League club. They went into administration. Southampton have been into administration. Leeds have been into administration. I can't stand Leeds, but they're a big club. Yeah, it can happen. So let's not pretend that this isn't seismic, because it is. So if you've got, and we've seen it already, you'll have seen some of the tweets that are doing the rounds, like Gary Lineker, obviously, he used to play for Everton. He's spoken out about, other clubs. Jamie Carragher's spoken about other clubs. Yeah. You're going to see a bit of a whispering campaign, not even a whispering campaign, a shouting campaign for a lot of the media, pundits and commentators to go, look, okay, this is what's happening with Everton. What's happening with City? Some of them will be overt and say City, others will say other clubs. I know Chelsea are obviously facing some potential punishments as well. But I would be surprised if it was nothing, if it was just a fine and an almost token gesture. I just don't know if it's going to be. I'll be honest with you. I'd be even more surprised if it was stripping them of anything.
The only way it could be nothing is if they prove the charges to be wrong. Yeah. I think if they get a guilty verdict, or whatever it's considered, I don't know if it's guilty is the right word, but if they get the charges upheld, it has to be massive. Even if it's like, what was United? Was it a 6 million fine? Am I getting that? Am I missing?
Yeah, United didn't. I don't think we went that turbo on our FFP breach. No, I think it was quite. And also, there's that thing. I think one of the reasons Everton are really aggrieved isn't that they broke the rules, because I don't think they're even denying that.
They admitted they had.
I think it's the fact they cooperated. Yeah. And they're saying, in their statement, they're pretty much saying that. They're saying, they've always respected the integrity process. The club does not recognise the finding that it failed to act with the utmost good faith. They're saying, we did. Yeah. We gave you all the information. We admitted what we did. We worked with you. Whereas City have been difficult, haven't they? I think it's safe to say. Yeah. That's one of the accusations, haven't they? They've not cooperated. They've tried to stall it. They've tried to not give over certain documents. I think was it the Spiegel actually hacked their emails and released a load of documents. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but City don't seem to have been very cooperative, and they seem to be in this sort of mindset of, we're going to make this as difficult as possible and prolong it as long as possible. And to a certain degree, it's kind of worked, hasn't it? Because you look how quickly United and Everton have been dealt with. City, are we any closer to them getting?
Where are we even up to in the process?
No one seems to know, do they? No. And I think the last thing I heard about it, or one of the last things, was they were arguing about whoever's overseeing it being an Arsenal fan. They were saying,
this is what they're going to do.
It's a bit of a nonsense, because what, you're just asking for a City fan to
they're going to go full O.J. Simpson with it, aren't they? Like, this is the classic technique. You don't discredit the argument, you discredit the arguer. Yeah. Like, who's making this argument? Well, is he an Arsenal fan? He's got reason to want us to lose points. Is he a United fan? Like, if you think of all the football fans across the world, I would say more than 50% of them support Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, Arsenal, or like Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Like most football fans support those 5 teams because of how big they are.
Yeah.
So what are you going to? You've got to insist it's a Luton fan, or like, but even then they probably come up with a reason why, whatever.
Yeah, because you can't ask for a City fan, obviously, 'cause that's just insane.
We can't be a City fan.
And then you go, well, we can't be a United fan because they hate us. Arsenal, they've been in a title race with us. It could, if he decides to deduct the points, that's going to help Arsenal. Newcastle, you could argue the same. Chelsea, you could maybe argue the same. Liverpool, you could argue the same. Like, who do you want? Do you know what I mean? Or someone who just doesn't follow football? Because, yeah, it does seem like a bit of a silly argument to make. But they're going to try anything they can. They're going to fight tooth and nail about this. Because it seems to me what City decided was, it's worth doing this in terms of if they get found guilty of breaching these rules, because the punishment won't be as bad as the success.
Like when you see
it'll be worth it.
Mario Balotelli parking his car in the middle of Mancunian Way or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to give me a 200 quid parking fine, but what's 200 quid to me?
Yeah.
I want to be there.
Yeah,
I'm just going to pull up outside the Arndale.
It won't hurt me. It doesn't bother me.
Who cares?
Because
Floyd Mayweather just pulled his car up outside the hotel and got out, didn't he? Next to Gary Neville on that live. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are you going to do? Charge Floyd Mayweather 120 quid parking fine?
He's not going to be bothered, is it?
Shit?
It's like, it's worth it for them to get that punishment. If at the end of it, they've still won all these trophies and all these titles and done the treble and all the rest of it. So it is going to be interesting. Get involved in the comments. Sorry, my internet's been playing up a little bit, but I can get in some of the comments now. Garlic Bread Man says, I feel the Premier League is building up precedent for punishing City in the heaviest manner possible, as we had no prior history of such punishments before, although this is just wishful thinking on my part. Sam Z says, Abu Dhabi will pressure Premier League for slap on the wrist. Satiris Sturgio says, making it fair, assume 30% of their breaches stand. That's a negative 300 point deduction. Dedication, sorry, I think you mean deduction. Could it relegate them to Division 3? Should it? If when City get charged, we will see counter lawsuits from affected clubs like Sheffield United, post Tevez, Mascherano. It's going to be a right mess.
Imagine they relegated him. That would be amazing. If they were like, there's no fine, there's no ban that's like, even if we added it up, it wouldn't equate to a 100 whatever point ban deduction. So we're going to relegate them down to the League One. Imagine that.
Yeah,
that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Just fully Juventus them. Because it is cheating. I know it's not match fixing. It's not got that like on the pitch rule breaking element to it.
Yeah.
But it's essentially match fixing, isn't it?
It
amounts to match fixing.
Yeah, it's like when City always make this joke. City fans are like, "Oh, City ruining football." You're kind of ruining it if you get found that all the leagues you've won didn't count.
Yeah.
So all those games were almost meaningless for everyone, not just for you, but for United, for Liverpool, for Arsenal, for whoever. Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it if you're a fan. If you're a City fan, you're probably thinking, listen, I was watching David and Ian Brightwell in League One not that long ago, or 20 odd years ago. All of a sudden, I'm watching Kevin De Bruyne and Sergio Aguero and Erling Haaland and all that. I'm loving it. It's amazing. So I am not bothered of how we got here, because I'm just loving watching great football and winning trophies and all that. I kind of understand that, because I think if we're going to be brutally honest, a lot of United fans are probably the same. Not everyone, not some of them wouldn't, and we've seen that with people who were speaking out about potentially being owned by Qatar. Like, no, I'm not having it. But they would. But the club itself, City Club, have took the piss. If these chances, they have. And there's no denying that. You can't say, oh, well, they didn't know what they were doing. Of course they did. It's just, now it's just going to drag on and on and on. But I think it's a sort of weird scenario where the longer it drags on, the more of a outcry there's going to be for some severity with the punishments. And I'd be very, very surprised. So I'll let you come in.
Yeah.
Very, very, very surprised if all the major charges they were found not guilty.
Yeah.
If they were facing 8 charges, you could do that. You could find not guilty on 8 charges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, they managed to do it last time, didn't they?
Yeah. It's not it's not beyond the realms of possibility. 115 charges. Now you might go, okay, 50% of them are just frivolous.
Admin shit.
You didn't put documents in time. The length of your grass was too long.
Yeah.
Whatever. The font on the kit wasn't right.
Yeah.
Just nonsense where you get fines. But a lot of them could be serious.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, clubs could go, look, we stood to the rules. We didn't buy that player because we couldn't, because of FFP. They bought whoever they wanted and won league after league after league.
Yeah.
That's not fair. That's the interesting thing. From a United fan point of view, it's kind of funny. You're just watching it from afar, like with a bit of a glint in your eye. I am anyway, because if push comes to shove, I don't think they'll lose any titles, and I think they'll probably end up in a position that's not that devastating to them. I think they'll still end up almost where they were anyway. But it is funny, and it is funny watching this play out as well. Do you know my only sort of wish in all of this? I wished to God it had been Liverpool getting 10 points deducted. Yeah. Because no one comes for you like Scouts Twitter. Yeah. Like, seriously. I don't know Everton Scouts, but you know, Liverpool, you can imagine
they would have made City get relegated.
Mobilisation
it would have been amazing.
Of the media, because you've got a lot of ex-Liverpool players in the media anyway. Social media as well, like actual, like, you know, the mainstream media, it would have been biblical. Yeah. And then you would have had City fans pushing back, you know, both of them. It would have been unreal. Yeah. That is my own thing, because Evertonians aren't exactly, you know, shrinking violets. Some of the things Evertonians do online and are actually bonkers. Yeah. They are, you're like, raw. Chill. Like, like, call me. Yeah. Even like, you go, hang on a minute, bro. I'm not sure about that one. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was with you for a certain amount of time, but now I've got to duck out of this one. Yeah. Like, they can be just like almost no holds barred, do whatever we need. So they're gonna be sort of, well on it, right? Yeah. This is we've got to see City being punished here, and I get it, because if I'm an Evertonian and I'm sort of watching my team battling relegation, never really winning anything, and you might be old enough to remember when they did, because you know in the 80s and well, I wouldn't say the 90s, but 95 they beat us in the FA Cup final, but in the 80s they were winning trophy after trophy, they were winning titles. You know, they missed out obviously because the band they couldn't go in the Champions League or European Cups. So they're probably a little bit aggrieved anyway.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. So they never had that opportunity during that period. Now you get to a period where you're just not very good. You're always sort of losing your Merseyside derby. You're battling relegation. Yeah. Liverpool have won Champions League and titles. City have won the lot. Yeah,
and City, perfect example almost. They were a smaller club, had to pass Everton on the way. Yeah, Everton would have been if you look at, you know, Man United were the biggest club in Manchester, and their rival, who were much smaller, was bought, overtook and won everything. Yeah. Everton would have been an equally feasible sort of investment opportunity for.
I think, do you know what the big thing is as well?
They could have easily been the new City.
Looked at Everton. Well, exactly. They looked at Everton.
I didn't know that.
As an option. Yeah. And I think the only reason, or one of the main reasons, they didn't go for Everton, because that was looked at as an option, because like you say, big club,
built-in
big
rivalry.
Fan base, you know, a good brand, if you want, for a better, in search of a better word there, for want of a better word, sorry, was the land. City had a lot of land where you could build stuff, you could change the infrastructure. Manchester City Council cannot have done more for Abu Dhabi. A lot of the buildings in Manchester City Centre are owned by the Abu Dhabi Group. Yeah. City gave them like 100-year lease or whatever it was. Manchester City Council gave them like 100-year lease, which was like, oh yeah, come and, you know, have all these buildings or whatever. So I think they looked and thought, as an investment opportunity, as well as everything else they want to do, sports washing or whatever, City fits the bill. Yeah. Better than Everton, because Everton, you know, yes, Liverpool's a massive city and you've got a lot of things you can do there, but I think it was more attractive for them to take over Manchester City, because you're right, City, you know, Everton were and still are a big club, and a bigger club than Manchester City for my money, but in terms of success now, they've just been left in the shade over the last sort of 20 years, because, no, not last 20 years, 15 years, sorry, because of what City have been doing. So, yeah, it must be horrible if you're an Everton fan, because you've gone through all that, like watching Liverpool winning all these trophies, you're not winning anything anymore. The season after season, it's a bit of a grind, and then you get this. And also, you've watched your owners and your board and your management misspend money.
Well, that would be the big thing for me, is the period of time that they're being charged for is one of the most frustrating and shittest periods in their recent history. Yeah. It's not like, well, at least we've got an FA Cup and a Europa League final to show for it. They've wasted money, been docked 10 points, been fined, broken the rules, and been awful. Awful. Like they didn't even have like, well, who cares about the dock points, because look what we've got. The Carabao Cup and an FA. Nothing. Like probably the worst period in the last, I don't even know what, 50 years has been the time that they've actually broken the rules and been fined for. So it is sort of punishment on punishment for Everton.
It is as well, because you're right. Because they've done that weird thing, like I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, just before COVID. If you looked at the spending charts in the Premier League, Everton were like 5th. They literally spent.
They fully went.
There was like Chelsea, United, City, obviously, Liverpool, and then Everton.
They were managed by Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah.
They had like the World Cup star
James Rodriguez.
James Rodriguez.
Yeah.
They had like, it was insane.
Yeah.
Carlo Ancelotti,
I know.
who has won 2 Champions Leagues as a player, 2 or 3 Champions Leagues as a manager, one of the greatest managers of all time, was managing Everton at their worst.
Yeah.
Like, they proper went for it, and it just completely didn't work out, did it? They spent so much money.
It didn't, and it's like, I almost feel for him, man, because we do a little bit with some of the Everton fans with the Blue Room and Sophie TV and stuff, and you get on with them. Sometimes it's like your enemy's enemy is your friend, because they hate Liverpool probably more than we do, which is saying something. And the good lads, it's like, they're just like us football fans and stuff, and you do feel for them. It's like even this season, I remember chatting to an Everton fan online, because it's like, Alex has always been one of their better players, and they can't even keep hold of him, and he's not that great. Do you know what I mean? Like, he went for 20 million to Fulham, didn't he? I think it was Fulham. And it's like, you're just so deflating and annoying. It's like, it's just players going out the door. Our best striker's always injured. We haven't really got that. Anthony Gordon comes through the ranks, looks like a real player, goes to Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? He barely played for Everton. I think they have like 2 seasons out of him, if that. And it's like, here's like a local lad, done good. We could get behind. No, he's off. Like, it just must be so.
It's also a little bit funny.
It is a little bit funny. So remember when Joe Anderson, the mayor of Liverpool, who's a massive Evertonian, tried to sue Chelsea over the Ross Barkley transfer?
Great.
Because Ross Barkley went for his medical at Chelsea, right, on like deadline day, and he's obviously they decided he wasn't fit. Like he had an injury. Right. So this was like summer transfer deadline day. So either he said to him or they've looked at him and gone, "You're not fit. So we'll wait. We don't sign you now. We'll wait." And he waited till January and signed him, or it was January to the summer, whichever way around it was. And then they signed him for much less because he was near the end of his contract during the next window. So Joe Anderson, I'm pretty sure his name's Joe Anderson. I've interviewed him a few times when he used to cover Radio C. He tried to sue the Premier League, or sue Chelsea, or whatever, because he said it was like, it wasn't fair.
Tapping up and that.
Yeah, like they've had a word and said, "Oh, we know what, we'll wait. And if you're not going to play for us for 3 months, there's no point in buying you now." It's just, it must just be horrible. Yeah. Like you've nailed it, because even though it's been horrible as United fan watching City win all these titles, we've struggled. We've still won a Europa League. We've still been to finals. We've still been second. I know it's not great, but we've still been near the top of the table.
Couple Carabaos. FA Cup.
There's been like during this period where Manchester United have been abysmal. Yeah. We finished second twice.
We still get to see roughly 20 wins a season.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all bad.
If you're a match-going fan as well,
but it's...
I'm not saying it's all about match-going fans, but if you're going, you've still got to go to European games. You've still, I've been at the new camp. I've been to, Madrid. There's been European adventures to have. Do you know what I mean? I know Stockholm. Like, if you're an Evertonian, you've got an out like that. Yeah. You're not getting into Europe, like, ever. At
this point, it almost seems like you're more anti-Everton than you are anti-City. Like you're being sympathetic to the point of they're going, "He's right."
I'm sorry. I don't need to kick them out of down.
You really
I feel
are.
for
I love it.
I do. You know what I mean? Because part of me wishes that money had gone to Everton. Yeah. Because that would have wound up Liverpool, and we wouldn't have City doing anything. City would probably be in League One. Yeah. And Everton, we'd hate them because they're winning everything, and we'd probably, fell out of them a bit, but it wouldn't be as bad as watching Liverpool win everything, would it?
No. And it'd be good because you could, like you said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
It'd be like, well, at least Liverpool aren't winning.
Sorry about this, right? We've had some issues with the internet on my laptop. But got Tina Tolosin Totoka says, if we, United, I'm glad you've put in brackets United there just in case I forgot who we support, had been the same shit as City, FA had relegated us to League 2 and we had started the next season with 90 points.
Well, did you see Sheffield Wednesday? That was a good example where they got done for FFP and it was all dodgy stuff. I think it's their owners just bizarre. But they wanted the fine to be at the start of the next season. So not the fine, the points deduction. So they could like have a season to sort of overcome it. You know how Derby tried to do?
Yeah.
But instead, they basically gave it to him right at the end of the season before. All but confirming their relegation. So, like, I'd love it if City are about to win the league this season on, like, May the 15th or something, May the 20th.
Yeah.
They're 6 points ahead of Arsenal. and they give them a 10-point deduction that day instead of... Because if they start... Because what will happen is they'll start next season with a 20-point deduction and win the league.
Yeah.
And it will be the greatest league title of all time.
Yeah.
What would have been 109 points or something fucking insane.
Yeah.
And they'll win it even with the deduction. What they need to do is do what they did to Sheffield Wednesday, give them the fine at the most damaging point possible. Last game of the season. Oh, you've won the trophy down, please.
Because one thing
Send
as
that
well...
to the Emirates. Thank you.
You got to remember with City, it's a similar thing-ish to what happened to Chelsea. If you give them a transfer ban, you say, right, you're not signing any players for 2 years.
Yeah.
They have got so many young players
Don't
on
matter.
their academy that they've loaned out and that they can call upon. They've got a squad that is relatively young. So they don't sell anyone, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's not like they go, oh, well, we need to sign players or we're not going to challenge.
No.
They'll be fine.
De Bruyne is the only one who's getting on a bit.
But they've not even really missed him like they should have done.
I know.
And also, I think you always point this out, was it 4 years ago when he won the title when he missed half the season?
Yeah, it was the Centurion season, I think.
I think he missed a big chunk of the season and they still won the league. So, yes, I'm not saying he's not a good player, let's not be silly about it. But I just feel like, it'd be interesting to see. I just love the angst and the anger and the arguing and all that.
And I like as well, the one good thing about the fact that City are postponing this, which is annoying in and of itself, is that there's at least this sort of overhanging anxiety.
Yeah.
That if I would be feeling if I was a City fan.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not going to ruin my life. But every few hours I go, oh, what if they
I love it as well because you'll see City fans sort of saying, you know, like when your missus leaves you and you're like, I didn't like her anyway, I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered. You know what I mean? I'm just sat outside her house because I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
Just happened to park up here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's just nothing.
I don't care.
These binoculars were already in the car.
Yeah, I was already going to go on holiday near where she's gone on a
do you know what I mean?
girls' holiday.
I'd already planned to have the tattoo of her name across my chest, so why would I cancel that?
I can get it like lasered off if I have to. I'm not bothered.
Yeah, I'm not bothered. You know what I mean? She's welcome to it.
Yeah, they don't care about it anyway.
Yeah, it's like I'm not bothered. Like, I've seen a lot of that.
You can never take the titles off. You can never take away the memories. No, you can't. But we can start singing 22 times Man United.
Do you know what the thing is?
And I fucking will.
You can never get rid of the memories. You can taint them.
You can certainly taint them.
Trust me. Do you honestly think, right, if Ronaldo would have gone to City, I'd have looked back on 2008 the same way I do now?
Yeah.
No. Because I'd have been like, fucking Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can taint a memory.
Yeah.
It is possible.
You mentioned him at the start of the show. Rolf Harris.
Yeah.
I used to listen to that CD every day in the car. Timmy Kangaroo.
Do you ever watch Rolf's Cartoon Club?
I'll be honest.
With the same memories or think of it the same memories you've got now?
Yeah, to quote Twitter, it don't hit the same anymore. No. Let me tell you. It fucking is horrible now.
Right,
so yes, whilst you can't forget you were there the day Aguero scored, you were there for that, it can affect things. Yeah. Like I said, I will be singing 22 times Man United at every single potential possibility if we were to get a couple of trophies added on.
Do you know what the funny thing is, right? I remember, right, when all this money came in at City around 2008. Yeah. I was living in London. I was at uni. And,
Big Apple.
Yeah, I was a mature student. And I used to live with these lads and like we were all football fans. One was a United fan, one was an Arsenal fan, another one was a Liverpool fan. And I remember when this all happened, they were like, oh, City, going to do bits now. And I was like, it'll end in tears, man. It's City. Like, it'll just, something will go wrong for him. Like, this won't be another Chelsea somehow. And then I thought after the Aguero goal, no, I thought, I was wrong. Like, it's not going to end in tears. They've made it work because of the sheer sort of amount of money. Yeah. But he still could. He still could. Like,
imagine a world, Joe,
that City thing of like, you just never know with him.
Do you know when you say
Maybe
we never know?
My age or whatever.
For now, we can speculate because once the charges are, they've either been cleared, but we can't speculate anymore. No. So just for now, imagine a world, Jay.
Go on.
Where, because I think these only go up to like 2019 or something, don't they? But obviously they will have. They were only, those charges were only brought in 2022 or 2023. So they will have probably been doing some of the similar practices up until now. Yeah. Maybe they've just started changing things based on what's gone on. So let's imagine a world in 5 years' time where not only those years 2012 to 2018 or whatever, but since then 2018 to 2023 have been investigated. Imagine they took every trophy they've won off them. Imagine that, where actually City have never won a treble. They've never won. They've never won a Premier League. They've won 4 or 5 less Carabao Cups, 3 or 4 less FA Cups. Like, they just didn't win a trophy. with the whole takeover. That would be the best thing that's ever happened, wouldn't it? That would be, imagine that, because obviously it won't happen, but for now, sort of, what's it called? The cat in the box, Schrodinger's cat style. It is possible.
No, Schrodinger's cat. Like at the minute, like they've not been punished, and like
they have got
at the same time. Technically, they haven't. You know what I mean?
Like imagine that.
I'm on board with that.
Imagine that. 2025, we're sat here. United haven't won anything because of shit. But neither have City ever. Pep's gone. Abu Dhabi have gone. They've sold it back to some bloke who owns a carpet factory around the corner. Oh my God, that would just be the best thing of all time, wouldn't it?
I'm going to go in some super chats for you, well, just some chats as well, because we're not all capitalist pigs. Martin P says, what do you think the punishment will be for City? Joe's called it there. Every trophy they've won, including the ones before these charges, so including the 1968 League One title or Division 1 title. That can go. The 1970 European Cup Winners' Cup, so they can lose that, or 1969
because technically, everything they did leading up to 2012 was essentially assisting in a crime, wasn't it? So their entire history is basically evidence in the crime.
Tom Fox says, Rolf once stroked my pet rabbit on Blue Peter.
That's not true, is it?
Daniel Berry says, were Everton charged before City? No, I don't think they were. I think it's the magnitude of it and that's taking so long with City. Marcello Corner says, gents, please mention how many players did we sell to Everton? I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
How many did we sell to Everton? What, James Garner? Anyone else?
Phil Neville, Rooney, John O'Kane.
This was 20 years ago.
Anyone else?
Rooney went to Everton, didn't he? But that was on a free, wasn't it?
Yeah. We'll have to look into it. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. I had issues with my laptop, so forgive me for not diving straight in, because I know a lot of you got a lot to say. But I'm sure we'll revisit this again. When we get Stephen Howson actually in this studio, I'm going to get his thoughts on it, because as you can imagine, he's got a lot to say on it. That's been Joe Smith. Go and check him out on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. You know where to find me, Jay Moy. Also, my boy here's got a video coming out in the morning where we're going to be looking at Dougie Freeman and Paul Mitchell potentially.
Who are they?
Who are you? I know who you are. Who are you? So we're looking at them and finding out what they could bring to the table as sporting director. This has been The Brew without Stephen Howson, but with me, Jay Moy, and Joe Smith. Thanks for watching.